In this episode, we're going to chat with everybody's good friend Hashtoshi. We're going to cover a wide variety of things, from the possible upcoming Bitcoin soft fork, to building an audience on social media, to some very cool ideas Hashtoshi thinks should be implemented into the Crypto.com ecosystem. Don't even dream of going anywhere. Get your frontal lobes ready, it's time for episode number 3 of My Brain on Blockchain.
It's time for My Brain on Blockchain with Damian Spriggs. For the latest episodes and blog posts, be sure to check out mbob.io.
Hello and good day to all you wonderful crypto enthusiasts. Welcome to the 3rd episode of My Brain on Blockchain. We are recording and releasing here on this fine Thursday, February 27th. Before we get to the seriously fantastic interview with Hashtoshi, let's take a quick look at the current state of this wild crypto market. Well guys, this certainly is no fun. The market's absolutely in the toilet. February 24th, we were just shy of 10K, and 3 days later, we've taken quite a bit of a drop, all the way back down to 8.6K before just now settling right below 9K. I have nothing but faith Bitcoin will keep grinding. I imagine we'll see it back at the 10K level in probably a week's time, but only time can tell. I hope your alt bags aren't completely blood red. I know mine are hurting right now, but this is a great opportunity to dollar cost average and get your average buys down a little bit to get you closer to your profit margins. With that being known, let's get on to the highlight of this episode, a fantastic talk with crypto YouTuber and my man, Hashtoshi. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We've got a great one here for you today, guys. We don't have Satoshi Nakamoto, but I'll tell you what, we've got the next best thing. I'm here with crypto YouTuber and crypto fanatic Hashtoshi. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, no, of course, man. I've been really looking forward to having you on here and having a nice talk about crypto.
Yeah, definitely. Always down.
Yeah. So first off here, before I hopped on here with you, I watched your latest video with Ryan Rotolo, or Crypto Fiend, as he's known of on YouTube.
Yep.
And he's somebody I'm hoping I can get onto the podcast soon. He's a really knowledgeable guy. How did you enjoy your chat with Ryan there?
Yeah, it's always good. That one had been on the books for a while. I think we tried to get that done the end of last year, but my schedule was crazy. So we ended up not being able to get it done, but happy that we got to finish it up here a couple months later. So it was great.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. So I know your kind of catchphrase is "let's hash it out," which I love. It fits your brand perfect.
Thanks.
But I'm sure you're not too often hearing it from the other side of things. So I want to hash something out with you right quick, if that's okay.
Let's do it.
All right. So I noticed in the intro part of that video, you had a big old light up Molson Canadian bar light in the intro clip.
Yeah.
I know you're American based. Are you Canadian?
I'm not. And
You're
that's
not,
funny.
okay.
I will say everybody that I talk to that's from Canada always asks this question. And then secondarily, a lot of people that now know, it's like a running joke. They're like, this guy's pretending to be Canadian. The story goes, my girlfriend's actually from Toronto.
Right.
And when she moved here with me, we started going back to Toronto to be with her family all the time. And so we like to go thrifting and buy stuff for our house at thrift stores. Mm-hmm. This sign, we found at a thrift store in downtown Toronto, and I brought it home. And I love neon, as you can tell by the sign behind me, right? I love neon. So this sign is prominently featured in my videos, but I am not Canadian. I'm actually American.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. I was just like hyper curious. Can you even get Molson Canadian down in the States?
I don't know if you can get Molson directly in the States, but I can easily buy a couple cases of Molson and bring it back with me.
Right. Yeah, no, that's fantastic, man. So back to that video with Ryan Rotolo right quick. In the start, you guys were talking about technical analysis and the price outlook of Bitcoin and a few other currencies. Yep. And as you mentioned, technical analysis isn't exactly your forte, which I was very happy to hear because I am absolutely TA illiterate. Yeah. So one thing I did find really interesting about your interview with Ryan, though, was what you had to say about the possible upcoming Bitcoin soft fork. I hadn't heard anything about it at all up to this point. Do you mind explaining it a little bit to me and our viewers?
Yeah, sure. So there's a proposed soft fork, and this doesn't mean that this will happen. It means that it potentially could happen. And the good thing about soft forks is that they're they're usually, if they're contentious, everyone has an option about whether or not they want to adopt it, right? So segregated witness, or SegWit, was an option for wallet providers and such to adopt. Different providers out there sometimes don't even support it, right? So that's good news. So this won't result in a hard fork where we have two different chains, like the Bitcoin Cash fork, stuff like that.
Right.
That's the good news. What this soft fork proposition includes, though, is what people in the community call Taproot and Schnorr. And basically the component of this that people care about is a change to the way that signatures are done in Bitcoin. So right now we use an elliptic curve signature algorithm, ECDSA, and it's pretty standard. It was chosen because it was fast, computationally easy, and it was just the best option back when Bitcoin came into the mix 11 years ago. Now, though, these Schnorr signatures have started to become prevalent, and they're smaller, so you can create just as secure signatures and sign transactions, but they're smaller to store in transaction body. So smaller transactions means more in each block without changing block size. It's good. But secondarily, where this really comes into play is with things like multi-sig and lightning channels, where you have multiple public keys, like multiple key pairs, signing the same collection of outputs and inputs and outputs, right? So in that case, these transactions can get kind of big because you have more data in there, right? You don't have an aggregated signature. And secondarily, for people that are really interested in OPSEC, like operation security with Bitcoin, you don't want to show your public keys publicly all the time.
Of course. Yeah. You want some sort of privacy.
Exactly.
Some degree of it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Just to keep your identity unlinked publicly, right? Exchanges and such, they're always going to have this information because if they're custodial or not, they know what your transactions are. But that's really the key value prop here, is to make those transactions with multiple keys smaller and more privacy focused, because you can aggregate all those public keys together and then generate one unified signature to sign that transaction and broadcast it to the network. So that's the key takeaway here in a simplified fashion.
Yeah, I really do appreciate the simplified fashion, because so much of that is so far over my head. I really need to dig down into like the finer technical areas of Bitcoin and really try to understand, because that sounds so cool. And you sound so super knowledgeable about that. And I know you're a humble dude, so you'll probably say, I really don't know that much, but you sound really confident talking about it, man.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm just a student of the space, and my measure for how well I understand this stuff, which is mind you, is still challenging for me to learn at each step of the way when new stuff happens. The measure that I have for myself about whether or not I know something is if I can explain it simply to someone else, then I know it well. If I can't, I got to go back to the drawing board to learn some more. Right.
Yeah, no, that's a very good way to put it. So in the years you've gotten started with YouTube, you've amassed a pretty good following on social media. So, I mean, you've got 16.6 thousand subscribers on YouTube. First off, congratulations for that. That's no small following by any means.
Appreciate that.
So for myself and other listeners, what do you think are some of the most important things to do when growing an audience on social media these days?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. For me, I've just tried to make content that's both valuable to other people and also stuff that fills me up and makes me, happy that I've created it, right? So I know that there are faster ways to grow a following. You can create videos that are just, not hype videos, because I feel like that's unfair to creators who do those types of things, because that's in their wheelhouse. But for me, what's faster, if I made a bunch of videos about price, I would grow faster, right? And that's totally fine. It's just not, those videos don't make me happy. And I wouldn't at the end of the week, when I looked at the content I uploaded, be like, I'm really stoked about what I put out this week. So, for me, I just try and create value for other people. And then I know that eventually people will come and people will take notice, and it ebbs and flows. You just got to be consistent with it, and you'll have good weeks, good months, bad months, but you just keep at it.
Right. Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And it's funny you talk about like videos on YouTube specifically talking about the price and all that. Cause I mean, we've seen the thumbnails. You go through crypto YouTube and you kind of see all the thumbnails. Ripple to hit 468 this week. Click here, like get in this. And it's just so in your face, and it's almost like an attack, I find. And, people are successful doing that. Don't get me wrong.
And it's a
Yeah.
fantastic way to rope people in, especially people who don't really know crypto, especially people who really aren't into crypto too much.
Yeah.
Because they obviously prices skyrocketing do get people interested, and it gets
Yeah.
people in on it. And if that's their first kind of trip down the crypto rabbit hole, I mean, that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. We're getting people into the mainstream, and we're getting people understanding cryptocurrency, and I love that.
Yeah, I'm in for
Yeah.
that. I mean, I think the key difference is that, and I think people who make those videos often get called, you know, they get called scammers or shillers or whatever. And I don't think that like just making that type of content doesn't make you a scammer or something negative. The difference is that you have to be cognizant of how you propose and how you pitch those things and how you say those things on social media, because whether you implicate or you say you need to take this action, people might. And so if your motivation for videos is to just get people into the space, whether they understand or not, I think you owe it to everybody to say, hey, this is a highly speculative market. Here's what you need to know. Look back at 2017. This stuff doesn't always pan out the way you think it will. And as long as these folks keep doing that and making sure people are educated on both ends, like this could go here, but this could also go to zero, right? And you need to be aware of that. As long as they're doing that, I see no issue with making that type of content. But it's the ones that, you know, make the math look good and then with no substantiation say prices are going here. That's what gets people hurt. Not physically, hopefully, but you know, emotionally and financially.
Absolutely. Yeah. That disclaimer is so important. You know, we hear it so much in this industry. This is not financial advice.
Yeah.
You know, this is not financial advice. We hear it in our sleep at this point, but it's so important so people aren't jumping in and throwing all of their money into a speculative asset that's not going to perform for them. Because as much as I believe Bitcoin is going to perform, and I believe cryptocurrencies will succeed, people do need to know what they're getting into, because I sure didn't when I started 3 years ago. And I bet you didn't quite know what you were jumping into when you jumped in. When did you jump in? When did you really start getting into cryptocurrency?
That's a great question. You know, the story goes, and I've told this on a bunch of different, you know, interviews, so I won't go deeply into it. But in 2008, 2009, I don't remember the exact month or day, but I was in school at the time. I was in a class. It was a computer science, like mixed class with like business and stuff. And I was on StumbleUpon, cycling through random stuff. And I, you know, stumbled upon, quite literally, the Bitcoin white paper. And I was reading it, and I'm, you know, first of all, I'm confused. I have no idea what's going on with this thing.
Totally.
And yeah, for sure. I think which is most people's reaction to that paper the first time they read it. But it was just so interesting to me that I printed it out and I took it home with me, and I just annotated it and just read it over and over again. And you know, I wouldn't call myself an advocate from day one because I didn't understand it fully, but I was just so interested in it. And so throughout the next, you know, several years, I just kept studying. Ethereum came into the mix. And at that time I was a more apt and studied beginner programmer. So as soon as Solidity came, I started trying out smart contracts for myself, and the rest was history. I stayed with it, and investment was never my focus early on and today. And so that's why it's really never been my focus. Not to say that I'm not invested. It's just, that's never been the thing that drew me to it in the first place.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's really cool. And I think it's really important to have people like you in the space who are more apt on the technical elements. I came out of high school. I wanted to be a web developer right out of the gate. I studied it in university, and it didn't pan out for me, and that's okay. That's no big deal. But it's important to have people who can basically pass on that knowledge in simplified forms to the masses in the crypto industry. So I think it's really awesome what you're doing.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, and there's need for every type of person in this industry, right? Like the internet. I always liken it back to the internet. The internet did not become mainstream because it was all technical, you know, I'm sorry to say dudes at the time. There were very few women in tech at that period, which is totally obviously not good, and something we should change now. But it didn't become big just because of technical people, right? It became big because there were non-technical people that could communicate it and convert some of the haters, non-believers, or people who just didn't get it at all, and make them believers and make them realize that would have you, that the internet has utility for them, that it means something to them, that they can use it for something. So people who create products are very important. People who communicate those products and market them are important. Today we have the, influencer marketing space that people hate, but
Yeah.
influencers are just the new infomercial, and those worked then, and influencers work now, and we'll have something totally different, 15 years from now, and people will hate that too. So integrity is the important part. And as long as you are pushing something honestly with disclosure that you actually believe in and that you like, no issue, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a fantastic take on that, I think. Specifically with influencers, I won't name anybody specifically, but you've got big crypto influencers and they have a lot of weight on crypto Twitter, and you wonder how many people, they're influencing into buying certain coins or doing certain actions. And I think they really get a lot of flack because they have these massive followings, and you a lot of the time it's a cartoon avatar, right? A cartoon avatar, something that's not personal to them, so they can absolutely hide behind that. And I think that's where a lot of it comes in, a lot of the uncertainty and the scrutiny behind the influencers. Yeah. I think they're a fantastic thing to have for the space, but you never know who's behind the screen. And I think that's the kind of scary thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. And there's it's really consumers who keep these influencers honest. Like, whatever your regulatory agency is around you, the FTC in the US, well, in Canada, I'm not sure of the equivalent, probably something similar, but they can't enforce everything. And so consumers then have to be the ones who determine if this person's trustworthy or not. And it gets really hard when it's on Twitter and it's a cartoon avatar and it's like all text, 200 and something characters. It's like, how am I supposed to tell if it's true or false or an ad or not? On YouTube where you have a face, it may be a little easier to tell when someone's being genuine. And in the description, if you've got, links or the video is sponsored, there are very strict rules about what needs to be marked and how clear it is and all that. So, enforcement's all over the place in that regard. So people, I think, take it into their own hands to say, hey, well, I'm going to be the one who proves that this person's a scammer, right? And then it kind of gets out of hand. But yeah, nothing new for us.
No, you're absolutely right. Now, like kind of going back to crypto YouTube a little bit. Now, I know a couple weeks ago there was a big crackdown. People were starting to get strikes really, really badly. People were getting banned. People were getting their videos taken off YouTube, which is a horrible thing. And it seems like it's kind of being lumped in cryptocurrency, distributed ledger technology that this is kind of happening. Did you find any personal? Did you have any personal? What am I trying to say?
Was I impacted?
Yeah, were you impacted by that? Really?
During that purge time, I wasn't, which I attribute almost fully to luck. I don't know that it means that I wasn't, I'm just great and I wasn't doing anything wrong. I think it's like it's lucky. I don't think a lot of the people that were affected really did anything wrong per se. I think there are some channels out there, even if they're not ones that we know of, right, that are solely designed to link to things that are dangerous. There's best practices aren't being followed, rules aren't being followed with affiliate links, stuff like that. Those channels, I think, like that's smart. You have to get rid of those because that's what makes people lump all cryptocurrency related or all gambling related or all anything related channels into the scam category. If one gets away with it and consistently does, then everyone's going to get blamed. So I understand the reasoning behind doing that sort of thing, but I think this is really just an example of an algorithm going crazy and the systems that are in place to report scam stuff being abused, right? Because there are actors, if you go on YouTube right now, I guarantee you go to the live streaming section on your homepage, you will find scammy channels with no avatar putting up videos like get free Bitcoin, Binance giveaway, free $100 of Bitcoin for every viewer. These are scam live streams that are like purpose built to scam people. And those people who run those, I guarantee you, are going to legitimate crypto streams and reporting them for scam practices, getting them taken down so they can keep their place on the homepage and get more people to sign up with them or do whatever. And
which sucks.
It's not an easy problem to solve because YouTube and other platforms that have this issue could go and say, well, okay, now if you're related to this industry, you have to prove it. But how do you prove it, right? You can't just disable reporting, because then legitimately scammy stuff can survive. So it's not really an instantly solvable problem. And more recently, my channel, like in the last week, I had, warnings and strikes come in for, for links, right? Links and descriptions that were to legitimate websites that were clearly marked if they were affiliated or not, or if a lot of them weren't even affiliate links at all. There was just like links to articles and stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
And I reached out to YouTube, and they said, oh yeah, these are not scam or spam. We'll remove the strike. But the appeal process even is a machine. So you're running the same check, the same algorithm, or the same piece of technology is checking your link again. That's not going to fix itself. So now you have to rely on people to do it, and it takes time. So YouTube's in a tough space in this regard, because it's not like they can just rewrite the algorithm to either, because it's a deep learning model, and it learns over time, and it's out of their control. It's nuanced, and it's a tough one.
Yeah, absolutely. Geez, I don't know. I guess at the end of the day, it really just comes down to follow the rules. The rules are set out in place. You can follow them as best you can. The algorithm isn't perfect, but we cross our fingers, hope good people like you aren't going to see your videos taken off of YouTube. Hopefully you've got some sort of, do you have any sort of like backup website? Yeah.
Yeah. I've moved my content, at least partially to library.io, which I really like, and they make it easy for creators to do that. So, folks can always follow me there too. And that will, supersede any other platform. If I were to have any issues on YouTube, fingers crossed I won't.
Right. Fingers crossed. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then I'm actually working on revitalizing and reviving a podcast idea that I had, the Let's Hash It Out podcast.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of buddies that are also in the crypto space or privacy space that I'm going to work with on that, because I realized quickly as I started recording episodes, I can't talk to myself for an hour or else I'll go crazy. So I need someone to speak to, but that's coming back soon. So hopefully folks will have another place to, keep in touch with me.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like, give me a shout when you get that out, because I'd definitely go ahead and do some promoting for you on that.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I'll bring you on the show, man. We'll have another chat.
That'd be really cool, because I've really enjoyed this. I just had a couple last things I did want to ask you.
Sure, shoot.
I've always been interested in making the jump to crypto YouTube. Now, the last little bit with the strikes and everything, that's made me a little hesitant. My fiance is actually a YouTuber, so I'd have all the gear at my disposal, which is fantastic. Cool. I just find I'm much better off podcasting and hiding from the camera. I find the camera makes me nice and awkward for whatever reason.
Yeah, it takes time to get out of there, man.
Yeah, for real. Do you have any tips on kind of building camera confidence? What was useful for you in that regard when you were just starting out?
Great question. I mean, so I come from a background where, while I'm technical, I did a lot of public speaking throughout school and throughout my, early in my career. And that helped me just with the actual act of speaking. But when you're speaking to a camera, it's like a whole different thing. You're like, I don't know where to look, because you often rely on eyes. You rely on people to look at and to react to you and to give you like affirmation nods or shakes or whatever.
Right.
And so that was tricky for me. And then I started just, every time I did a video, I'd watch it back, and then same way I did public speaking, I'd have people record me. I'd say, I'm saying like too much in this one. Try and the next time I speak, get rid of the likes. Just improve one thing every time you record a video. Mm-hmm. And then if you do that, by the time you record 8 to 10 videos, whatever, they're going to be awkward, they're going to be out there, but just do it. And then eventually you'll get better at it. And for me, I stare directly into there's like the spot in the lens that looks kind of like an eye. If you pretend a little bit, you look directly there and you talk to it, and you just imagine that camera is a person and they are digging everything that you're saying right now. And that's what I do. And it works just fine.
No, that's really cool. Especially seeing that as an eye, kind of playing with your brain a little bit. That's a really cool tip. So thank you for that. I'll definitely look at maybe getting onto crypto YouTube. I think it could be a lot of fun. It just depends on how much I got going on my plate. Because I do work a full-time job on top of doing this podcast and everything.
I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah, right. Good. So the time crunch. There's never enough hours in the day.
Right on, dude. No kidding.
So aside from your YouTube life, I understand you're a user of the handy dandy crypto.com app, are you?
Yeah, I'm a user. I really like it. I have a crypto.com card, and I use that. Although obviously it's like I only spend a certain amount of crypto. I'm not trying to spend it all. So there's that too. But yeah, no, I think that what they've done is fantastic in the sense that they've created a one-stop shop, for people that are in the US to get altcoins of some kind, which there are few and far between options here for that.
So hard, yes.
So hard. They are a place where they have the infrastructure to start building out with all the new products that are coming to the space, DeFi, staking, all that stuff. They have the infrastructure there because they run nodes. They have custodial keys, key management down to a science. What I want from them in the near future is I want something like a way for them to use non-custodial keys. So for people to have a hardware wallet and expose their assets to crypto.com somehow for staking and other things.
Right.
Because there are some networks that allow you to stake without giving up, actually transferring your coin somewhere. You can stake as like a commitment or an assertion instead, which I think would be awesome. So I don't know, just some of my thoughts on crypto.com. I am a fan for sure.
Yeah, no worries. That's awesome, man. Specifically with like the staking from per se your ledger or something, that would be fantastic, because I know I've got a ledger myself that has, ever since I've really started using the crypto.com app a lot. I don't keep all my crypto on there, but I do keep a good portion of it on there. So I find my ledger's been a little neglected, and I feel bad. It's just tucked away in a closet somewhere. So I'd love to get some more use out of that. So especially where they're kind of partnered with Ledger in a couple different things, if they could figure out a way to be able to do that non-custodially, that would be fantastic.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I would also love for them to, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, I would love for them to integrate with some of the major decentralized domain providers, Unstoppable Domains, ENS, FIO. I would be really stoked about that too, because there's a lot they could do with that, right? And I'm thinking too is, GoFundMe pages, right? People do those all the time.
Ooh,
and one thing that you could do is you could create a decentralized GoFundMe page. It's routed using your Ethereum name, a name service domain, your Unstoppable domain. And then crypto.com could take, an extension that they build, right, for those decentralized websites to accept crypto donations of all kinds fulfilled through crypto.com, right?
Wow.
So they can create these sort of, plugins for those pages where people can collect donations in crypto, and everyone wins, right? You get donations, hopefully, and crypto.com gets, those little transaction fees that come through their platform. So, hopefully let's see that. Let's get them to do that, man.
That would be
cool.
So cool. I really love that idea of a decentralized GoFundMe where people can use crypto. That would be fantastic. Honestly, I might close this laptop and go build myself a business on that.
Right on, man.
I'm just kidding. But no, that's a really cool idea, and something I would definitely love to pass along to the team and see what they think about that.
For sure, man. Yeah, I think the coolest part about crypto.com is that they took a long period of time to build to what their original vision was. And I think they're mostly there in terms of the original idea that they had. Now they have all this infrastructure to build off of, to build all these cool peripheral products and services that people want. And, for me, like just over a period, I think of like 6-7 months, I had enough cash back, crypto cash back in CRO to cash out to a gift card. And I drove out like an hour to the soccer field in the city near me. And I realized that I forgot the one critical thing that I needed to play soccer, which is my soccer ball.
Oh no.
And I'm like, this is a huge bummer. Like either I go back home and I accept defeat for an hour of my life, or I will drive to the Dick's Sporting Goods that's about 10 minutes away from here and buy one. And so I'm like, I don't want to spend money on this, whatever. So I used my crypto cash back in CRO to get a Sporting Goods gift card and bought myself a soccer ball.
Oh, awesome, man.
Long story made short.
That is like perfect. That's is just about as good as it could get. I mean,
there's my crypto.com testimonial.
I love it. All right. So I will need to get going here, man. I really, really enjoyed talking with you. Like you said, when you get your podcast going, I would love to have the opportunity to come on here and speak with you a little bit more, because this was really fun. I enjoyed this. Thank you very much, Hashtoshi. You have yourself a good night, okay? Thank you so much for talking with me.
You too. Cheers.
What's going on, my people? Thank you so much for catching my interview with Hashtoshi. That was a lot of fun for me, so I really hope you guys had just as much fun listening in. What a smart and knowledgeable guy. If you guys wanted to hear more from our friend Hashtoshi, you can find him on Twitter at Hashtoshi4 and on YouTube as well at Hashtoshi4. Always fun hanging out with you all, but we're going to cut it here. If you enjoyed the episode, do me a favor, give it a download, send it to a crypto-curious friend, write the link on a piece of paper and send it out to sea. Whatever you gotta do, let's get this ball rolling. For more episodes of My Brain on Blockchain, blog posts and more, check out mbob.io. Speaking of contests, go check out our Twitter at mbob_podcast and at Damian Spriggs. Hey, don't tell anybody I told you, but we might just be giving away $10 worth of cold, hard digital gold. Bitcoin, baby. This is Damian Spriggs. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll be coming at you next Thursday. Peace.